And I back from my little road trip out east to Montreal for work, of course. So it wasn't necessarily a road trip for pleasure. The road trip, the driving on the road was for pleasure. That's why I didn't fly out. It's about the same time. Maybe it's a few more hours, but I get to listen to audiobooks while I drive across province. So that's what I did. And I got through 2 audiobooks along the way. It already seems like I've forgotten to use all of this in those 7 days off. So one of the books I read was this Bear Creek Collection Volume 1. This is by Robert E. Howard, the famous writer of Conan the Barbarian, other things as well, but Conan the Barbarian, that's the one that he's known for, and there's no surprise, is what I would say here. I have to grade this thing. If I had to grade this thing, no, I did grade this thing. I graded this thing a 3 out of 5 stars. I wish it was more. I really did. I was really looking forward to Old Western kind of fiction. Sometimes I go through these phases once a year where I just want to consume Old West. I'm not sure why. I usually go to pulp comics for this, but then I was like, wait, what? Robert E. Howard does Old West? Okay, let's put that on my phone and let's set them up for the road trip. So I did Collection Volume 1, which I rated about 3 stars, I would say. I mean, it might have been a 3.5. It might have gotten up to 3.5, maybe. It could have almost been a 4, but I'm like, it wasn't quite a 4. And I have a very rigorous set of rules for when I'm rating books, because a 4 for me is something like I would recommend this for other people to read, even if it might not be a genre that they'd be cool with. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it would be a hard sell for me to kind of push this on anyone. Do I think it was a fun read? Yes. There are 10 chapters in this, or 10 short stories. This is an anthology for all intents and purposes. There's no continuity in any of this. So I do recommend, like, if you have time and you want to check it out just to see how Robert E. Howard wrote cowboy slapstick comedy old westerns, then give it a shot. You know, I think it'd be fun for the experience of it, which is why it's a 3 for me. They're about half an hour each, 40 minutes. There are some characters that appear multiple times, especially for the slapstick comedy brawling. There are very few people who rated this book on Goodreads. But one thing that did shock me, because I just checked Wikipedia, is that Breckenbridge here, this character was the most financially viable character of Robert E. Howard's writing career back in the 30s. So I didn't know that. I wouldn't have believed it based on what I read. Now, were they amusing? Were they fun? They were at times, but they were so over the top with the violence. Humor was so over the top that it felt like a cartoon, like I was reading a cartoon. It was very slapsticky. That's not to say that people didn't sometimes get dead, but they did. And then the storyline itself, the flow of each of these stories was very much in that simple way that I'm familiar with from the Conan stories. But they don't necessarily start like Robert E. Howard is known for storying, which is in media res, like in the middle. So it basically starts inside the act 2 and then gets you into act 3. That's how Conan stories, like, that's how they're so action packed and they move so fast. They feel like very action pushy. I'm not sure the word I'm looking for there, but you know what I'm saying. In media res is what it's called. And these kind of started in that sense of like, hey, something's going on, here's the quest, and then you're off. But it still did a little bit of a setup. There was still a little bit of an act 1 for each of these short stories before they set you off on the typical quest, like he's got to find a ring, or he's got to get his cousin out of some problem, or some friend out of jail, or he's got to pick up some woman from some city because to get him married, to get married. I don't know. There were a lot of the same sort of themes here. It's very simple is what I'm saying. There was literally about, I don't know, half a dozen types of setups and stories for this, and so it kind of got repetitive. That being said, these weren't meant to be read as part of a collection. These appeared in periodicals, right? So you'd kind of get to return back to the antics of Breckenbraw. So I would say that this first book, it was amusing to me because it was something I never expected, and it was amusing. It was amusing, is what I would say. So on the way to Montreal, I listened to Collection 1. On the way back to Ontario, I listened to Collection 2. Maybe it's because I was a little bit, not burnt out by Collection 1, because I wasn't really it wasn't really landing on me as a 3 out of 5 star. And this one, I'd probably give it 2 out of 5 star. I would probably give it a 2.5, right? But it's the redundancy, the repetition of the stories maybe got a little bit too redundant for me. So Collection 2 here, they're in the 40 to 50 minute range for each of these short stories. They did feel a little longer. Now that I think of it, I was like, wow, they're still going. Anyways, so I would recommend these if you're curious to see how the Conan writer writes slapstick westerns. That's it. Otherwise, otherwise, a 2 for me is starting to get to the point where I'm like, check out the first one. I think it was stronger in general than the second one, though, right? It's just if you're going to pick one that you're just going to see how he's written, none of these are in continuity, right? For the most part, I think there's 1 or 2 stories that they kind of set you up as like, you end up meeting the cousin that hates Breckenbraw, and Breckenbraw hates him, and if they meet, it's like a fight to the death, but it never really is a death, but they're both brutes, and so they can both take it. It's just insane. It's out of control, violent humor, but like violent in the punching sense, but not violent in the shooting sense, if that makes sense. There are some shootouts, and like I said, people do die, but it's not the main focus of the story ever. It's not like it turns it into a comedy, but it doesn't really make it serious either. Imagine if you're part of the generation that watched Tom and Jerry cartoons and Looney Tunes in the 80s, you get it. That's what I'm talking about. Breckenbraw would have been to the 30s what the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry were for us Gen X kids. Somewhere in the 90s, political correctness ended up making Tom and Jerry kids and Looney Tunes kids and Disney kids and Muppet Baby kids. Everything became childrenerified versions of the more violent versions that the Gen X kids grew up with. Anyways, that's enough of that. We're gonna move on. I'm getting derailed. This was supposed to be a short update, so I'm gonna go back here because I ended up finishing GYO. I think I've been saying GYO. I think it's GYO. I'm not sure. Anyways, this was amazing. Junji Ito. This involves fish that end up getting these weird alien-y kind of things. I mean, it looks like it's organic, but I don't think it's technically organic. You'd have to read it to understand what I'm talking about. At the end, I don't really want to spoil it, but it's like, it is as simple as this. Imagine the entire story being about how this becomes worse and gets worse, because it always does. It's a Junji Ito book. Let's see what do I show the last page? Yeah, it won't really mean anything. Be prepared. This is going to be pretty grotesque, okay? Bam, I'm just going to keep it up short there. That if you want to pause and take a look. Like, that's where it goes. That's where this goes. Anyways, so this is what I expect out of Junji Ito. Did I grade this thing yet? I think I might have given it a 4. I don't think I graded this on Goodreads, and now I'm under pressure to think about this on the fly because I'm recording a video. What would I give this? At least a 4. It's maybe creeping towards a 5, but I would say maybe didn't tie it up at the end. So I'll say it's a 4. It would have been a 5 if it didn't end the way it did, because it just sort of like stops. Like, you kind of get this promise of a potential resolution, as you might expect from like a Walking Dead. That might be where I might have like seen a parallel for this, like the grandness of what this could have been. This could have turned into effectively, it's the Walking Dead, but with like fish that have like these legs on them. Like, everything comes out of the ocean with these, and I don't want to explain what this is because that's the spoiler part, which is simple, but that's what I'm saying. It all happened in like the last chapter, and it's like they kind of give you this thing that they give you enough details where like you could probably piece together where the next phase of this reality would go. But just imagine what it would be like if it was The Walking Dead with fish, with all the fish that come out of the ocean, and then whatever these things are here, they just end up taking over people as well, a lot of them. And so anyways, this was horrific. It was great. The art was exactly what I would have expected out of Junji Ito, and I am saying I feel confident this is at least a 4. I'm gonna have to give it some thought. Maybe it becomes a 5 by the time I get to Goodreads. I do recommend this. Check it out. The Death Stench Creeps. Great stuff. Okay, next. Last night I ended up on a whim, because I was like, no, I want to get a book like done this weekend, and I'm like, it's not gonna be Brandon Sanderson, and I don't want to start a Brandon Sanderson tonight. It's already late, and I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. So what I did instead is I picked this up at a thrift shop. I did already own a copy of War of the Worlds, but then I bought this awesome copy. It's got like this bevel. That's not the right word. I sometimes I just forget words. Okay, and this thing. It's like, it's the thing of it. Is it the thing? You know what I'm saying? The thing is like, there you go. There you see the back of the page. You know the word I'm talking about. Whatever this is. I knew that. I promise I knew the word. I just don't. It's not coming to me right now. Anyways, it's a really cool book. It's got this matte kind of feeling cover. It's a penguin book. I want to find more books in this series. This is a really nicely designed book. And it's, thrift shop. I got it for $3.99, even though I already owned a copy of this, but I don't care because I love the cover. And I finally read The War of the Worlds. I've had that other copy of War of the Worlds for probably 20 years, if not 25 years. I eventually wanted to get to it, and I did. And I finished it in an evening. And it was okay. Did I expect more from it? I absolutely did. And so what would I rate this thing? I think I rated this already, and I gave it a 3, I think, if not a 2. I'm going to check Goodreads right now, because I have a criteria, folks. That's what I'm saying. I have a criteria. I gave it a 3 stars, because a 2 for me is kind of like, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's like, it's okay. A 2 for me is okay. And if you're really curious about it and you're a fan of like science fiction, especially like retro science, like the old school stuff, right? And you kind of want to have this in your repertoire like I did, then a 2 for me would go, it's a 2, but it's something, it's an old book, and I really want to have experienced what came before. So this is why like a 2 would still convert me to read something. But if I saw a 2 and it was like a romantasy, hell no. That would be a hell no for me. And there may be other examples. That's a terrible one to just throw there. That's the easiest one I can give, because I really don't think I would easily adapt to liking a romantasy. And so if it's people who like romantasies given a romantasy a 2-star, that's a really bad sign. You know what I'm saying? So why am I peeling this while I'm on an update video? Because it's coming off so easily. And the other ones on the Hunger Games were a disaster, and they left a bunch of glue behind, and holy crap, bam, clean. Okay, sorry, that didn't have to stay in the video. I could probably cut around this. I probably won't. I'll just keep going. Okay, so let's put that away. So I enjoyed parts of this, and then I really didn't enjoy other parts of it, and that's why I almost gave it a 2. I gave it a 3, but I almost gave it a 2. So really it would be like a 2.5. And so what happens is, like, I usually get to a point where I'm like, it's probably 2.5, and then I got to go, okay, 2.5 plus or 2.5 minus, because I don't have 0.5s on Goodreads. So I have to choose one. And then that's usually what determines, like, okay, I got to have some variables in play, and I got to weigh some ideas. And I would say the part even as I say it, like, I still feel like it might be a 2, but I don't feel good giving it a 2, which is really why I'm not giving it a 2, but I'll explain. Is that this is made up of 2 books, okay? So let me get to the table of contents here. Now, you got book 1 here, right? If it can focus real quick. And then you got a book 2, right? Which is, it's shorter, all right? And now what happens though, and what's extremely strange about the way that this was put together, and maybe this is like, I don't know the history of the World of Worlds, how H.G. Wells wrote this, and so I'm losing context here, but you kind of go through this plot here, and you get about halfway in, and it's all focusing on one particular character, and you're in a first-person perspective and stuff like that, and you're following this guy who's escaping, like, he's one of the first ones to discover the orbs, and then it's just like things start to unravel and go nuts, and he has to split apart from his family, or he gets cut off, he meets a soldier on the road, and it's like it feels like a cool story. And then at some point, and I don't know when it happened, but I'd have to go back and see, how did I bridge into the brother? Like, he starts telling the story of the brother, and it's not that was a bad story, it was okay, but it just flips the person we're following, and the brother ends up on this boat, and he's trying to keep this other family safe over their travels. They get on a ferry or something, and I just read this last night, I should remember more of these details. The point is, I was trying to stay awake for that part of it, but I know all the action happened on that part of it. Like, a lot of action. Like, they were taking these things out. And it was near the end of the book 1. It's what would have been equivalent to that Act 2B to 3 transition, where, like, all the shit hits the fan, you know what I'm saying? And, like, you really expect it to kind of, like, oh, now the war is going to be on, you know? And then the book 2 is going to be, like, the fight and the resolution. Because it's only going to be, like, the last, third to a quarter of the book. So that's kind of what I was expecting. And maybe it's my bias. I go into stories expecting a certain flow, like a 4-phase sort of flow. And I wasn't really getting this here. And then when I got to book 2, and this is where it almost was a 2, and it still feels like it could be a 2, but I can't feel good about it. Okay, it's that you get to book 2, and I'm like, well, then what's book 2 about? Because it feels like pretty final. I don't know where it goes from here, outside of it has to escalate, and we have to take the rest of them out. Now I know how this ended, right? Because this is just so well known that I know what takes these things out at the end. And so, anyways, I get to the book 2, and it actually flips us back to the first perspective, the one that we were originally in when we started the book. Why is book 2 continuing where somewhere here left off? And that's where I was like, when I started reading book 2, I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this now, because, like, I don't know how this happened, and I don't know why he would have done it this way, because I feel like these could have been threaded differently. I get that there might be a continuity of timeline, might be what's going on here. Book 2 really gives you a lot of the exposition about the physiology of these Martians, and, like, look, I have to talk about the spoiler part of it, like what takes these things out. It's an art. Everyone should know it's a cult, okay? It's cult. They're not good against cults, okay? And eventually there's like a virus that goes around, just a normal one. It's not even like I'm like, are they going to drop a like germ bomb or something, or like, you know, I just thought it was going to be something else. And the Act 3 resolution was just like this. It just fizzled away. It's just like, oh, they're all dead now. Yeah, it's because they got a cold or something, and that's it. Don't go with the rest of them. It's like, what? Why? I don't understand. So, and then he meets up with the soldier again, which is the guy we met in the first half, right? It's just like the continuity was just all busted for me with this. I'm not sure how this was meant or how this was released at first to have made it become what it did. So if someone knows, by all means, let me know, or I'll Wikipedia it at some point. I'm so curious. I have to find out. Anyways, there you go. So 2.5 stars, but I'll give it a 3 because it's War of the Worlds, C.G. Wells. I did read somewhere, I don't know where in the book, maybe, that it was one of the first books, if not the first renowned, the first book he was known for was this one or something. Anyways, there you go. Might be saying a lot of lies. I'm gonna put this away now. We're gonna move. I'm terrible with making promises and not keeping them, but I'm going to try to do 2 Attack on Titans this week because of taking those days off. Taking this week off is also because I ended up getting a new van so that I could take road trips in. I didn't get it in time to go on the trip to Montreal, but I got it right after I got back. And so I have to clear out my storage unit because at this point, I don't want to be paying for it if I'm going to be staying at this house because of past updates where I'm staying put here. I've been doing a lot of chainsaw action. I could record some vlogs out there, and I got entirely chopped up by like I don't think you can see the cuts. I'm destroyed from like briar bushes and stuff like that. I was trying to kill a bunch of the thorn bushes. They were creeping up trees and stuff like that. I'm like, this is out of control. Like, I gotta get these things down. And no, yeah, they fight back. these damn vines, they fight back, man. It's creeping vines, or they're not really briar, but it's like a mix of briar bush and like creeping vines with thorns. I mean, I don't know what these names. I'm not a like I don't know the names of these friggin' plants. I just know that this vine itself is like, I start pulling and they were crawling up to the branches above, like the pine trees and the trees. Anyways, nasty. So that's been fun doing some yard stuff while there's like under 10 degrees Celsius weather here. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but that's the best time for me to be out there and doing some of the yard work. I'm just chopping everything down, deconstructing everything, demoing. I just love destroying things. And now that I'm staying at this place, I do not hold myself back. And I've really come to love chainsaw action. So there you go. I don't know why that update had to be mixed in here, but this is just gonna be a generalized update for whatever's on my mind for the week so that there's a log of it. And then it'll give you context in case it kind of gets woven into future content, because I can't predict what the future content will be like on this channel. I just know that this is my place. This is my place to hang out and chill for those who want content like this. We're just chill, and that's about it. So yeah, thank you for showing up. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.